here is the Yoga Sutras book that I'm recommending as our standard source, but there are many sources, many translations of the Yoga Sutras. But today, I want to talk about the very first part of this book. It is called Invocation to the Lord of Yoga. All right, so that begs the question, who is the Lord of Yoga? I don't know what the author is trying to say or who that is, but I will tell you who my Lord of Yoga is, and you can have your Lord of Yoga as well, whoever that is for you. So yoga, again, I've said this a few times, is the word that means yoke. It's what you are closest to. It's what you link to. So one of the purposes of practicing the poses is to become more aware of your own body, of the way you feel inside. Like, I don't know how you feel inside. You're the only one that actually knows what you feel inside. But I can make some guesses at how you feel according to how I usually feel on the inside. And so as a yoga teacher, one of the things I try to do is describe what I'm feeling on the inside. And then if you're feeling something similar and I can put words to that, then we feel a connection. And that's the thing about yogis worldwide, is this is the practice, is to try to understand what is it on the inside and how can I make whatever changes in my thoughts, in my movements, and so forth to make that even more connected. All right, so the Lord of Yoga, invocation to the Lord of Yoga, could be thought of as an intention to connect with that part of ourselves, that inner part of ourselves. But I take it a step higher. I have been raised in a religious setting, but even beyond the religion, going to church, which I think has been a great thing for me in my life, and I continue to be very dedicated to a church congregation. What really is important to me, though, is my personal relationship to what I call God, a Father in heaven. I can include a mother in heaven. I believe that there is a mother as well as a father. So when I think, I'm going to read this to you, when I think about these words, I'm thinking about my relationship to that experience of connecting with, I believe there is a God. I believe that we are here sent by a creator. So just listen, this is a prayer of devotion. Like, it touches me so much. I don't know that I've ever heard anything that helps me to feel more dedicated and devoted to my God. So backing up just a tiny bit, I believe in the Bible. I believe in Christianity. So going back into the Old Testament, well, let's go with the Christ part, where he was asked, what's the greatest commandment? And there were church leaders that were trying to trip him up and all of these laws, which one of these laws is the one that is the most important? And they were hoping that he would say something that they could catch him, but he didn't. He said, the greatest law, number one, is to love God. Love God with all of your heart, might, mind, and strength. That's Old Testament. So he's pointing to that. Love God. And the second is like unto it. Love your neighbor as yourself. So love fellow beings. Holding space practice and the things that I publish, we talk a lot about love and what that actually means. So take whatever you believe love is right now and listen to these words. at the beginning of this book. Invocation to the Lord of Yoga. My own true self, you are. My intellect is your consort. The life force of my pranas are your attendants. My body is my Lord's sacred temple. All my senses worship you in all forms. My sleep is but absorption into your spirit. Wherever I go, I am immersed in your form. All my words are hymns in which I sing your praises. Any action that I do is an act of devotion to you. Though I may have caused pain with the actions of my limbs, and though I may have brought about suffering with my mind or senses, though I may have acted in ignorance against your truth, for all these mistakes, please forgive me, you who are the ocean of mercy. When I read that, I feel a connection. I hope maybe you do too. Let me go back just a little bit and give some commentary. It starts, my own true self, you are. So there's a connection between me and God. And when we are connected, when I feel that connection, it's like no other time of the day or experience that I have. So my own true self, you are. My intellect is your consort. Okay, so I have some kind of intelligence that is part of me, and this is saying whatever intelligence I have, it's yours. It comes from you, and I give it to you. And I believe that. I believe that a creator gave me the intelligence that I have. So I can never really brag about myself because it always came from somewhere else in the first place. So this intelligence that I have, it belongs to God. The life force of my pranas are your attendants. All right, so again, God, somehow the creator gave us life, gave us breath. So the pranas is life force. In Chinese, they would call it qi. It is what gives us life. It's what animates us. So that life, that energy that I have is servant to God. He, creator, is the one that gave me all of the energy that I have. So as I think about taking that energy and doing whatever I do for him, that changes my day. That changes, like, this isn't for me. This is for a loving creator. All my senses worship you in all forms. So our senses, that's all we have. We have no other way to receive intelligence, to receive knowledge, to experience. It's through all of our senses. So when we think about our senses and we take those senses and we worship God, we connect with God. Again, worshiping to me is connecting with that higher being that we're calling God. My sleep is but absorption into your spirit. Okay, so when we sleep, our conscious awareness, it's different, right? We are not aware, but our mind is still working. We know that our mind is still learning, is processing. So this is a time that God, we can be completely absorbed in him, in that work. If we go to sleep thinking about, I want to heal, then that would be something that would be absorption into his spirit. Wherever I go, I am immersed in your form. So we can't get away from the fact that I am who I am, and it is God's body that I have. All my words are hymns in which I sing your praises. So what kind of music am I listening to? What songs are going through my mind? Any action I do is an act of devotion to you. All right, so I choose how I act. And if I am acting and thinking about how to be connected to God, then that is a certain quality. But let's think about it for a second. Sometimes we act and we're not thinking about God. It doesn't matter. In whatever way we are acting, it is either showing connection or not towards God. And so to the degree that I connect with God, that's the degree of devotion that I can have. I don't think God expects us to walk around thinking all day long, okay, I don't know, doing Hail Marys or whatever. I don't think that he is doing that. But we can't help it. Whatever we do, it shows our relationship to our Creator. It is devotion. It's just how much of it is conscious and are we aware of it. Now, this next section, this is, to me, this is kind of like the Lord's Prayer, which I also would love to talk about. The Lord's Prayer where it says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. This is kind of a long version of that. It's so beautiful. Though I may have caused pain with the actions of my limbs, and though I may have brought about suffering with my mind or senses, though I may have acted in ignorance against your truth. So how many times do we do something and like, I really didn't mean to hurt anyone. I didn't mean to create a problem. I didn't mean to make a mistake. Most mistakes are really things that we don't mean to do. I really have a hard time believing that there are people that wake up intentionally and going, how can I make this a really bad day? How can I hurt people today? I just don't think anyone does that, not with consciousness. I think that there are people that are hurting a lot, and because they feel pain, they don't know how to do anything but try to protect themselves, to hurt less, to suffer less, and they don't know how to not suffer. And the way I react to them, I may be reacting to somebody with bitterness, and that only creates more pain and suffering to them. So I dedicate my life to try to understand how my being, my nervous system, the way I treat people, how it can help or not help them. And so in this prayer, it's saying all of these things that I do in ignorance or with knowledge or understanding that I am hurting people. It says, for all of these mistakes, please forgive me. Like, we're all trying. We're doing the best we know how in this life. And if there is a child that's in an abusive situation, grows up, and they know nothing but somebody telling them how bad they are, like, they don't even realize that when they turn around and tell somebody else, oh, you're terrible. This doesn't necessarily mean that it's awareness that they're doing that. So we ask for forgiveness. We all ask the Creator, please forgive my weakness. Forgive the things that I didn't realize I was doing wrong, or I did realize, but I couldn't seem to stop myself for some reason from doing that thing, whatever it is. All right, personal story. When I was a new mom, those first years of being a mother, I just wasn't a good mom. I don't know how to explain. I was upset all the time. I was tired. I was sleep deprived. And I didn't know how to, quote unquote, make my children obey, because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. But I was miserable and they were miserable. I created suffering for myself. I created suffering for them. And I started to pray this prayer of forgive me. But it's more than just forgive me. How can I change so I don't create suffering? And there are many answers. The holding space practice is my place to try to put all of those things that I learned through research, through experience, and try to make it so that there's a shortcut for other people who are looking to end suffering. But in this book, that is part of what yoga is to learn to end the suffering inside, or at least reduce the suffering that I feel inside, as well as the suffering that I cause other people, especially family or roommates or people that you live with. Have you noticed, I'm sure you have, that you can be one way with certain people and a different way in a different setting? And you, depending on how somebody treats you, you may be nice to them, or if they treat you poorly, then you may treat them poorly. Well, suffering is reduced when we let go of, well, somebody else is treating me poorly, but I don't have to treat them mean back. Things change. And then that changes the way they feel. And they feel a little bit lighter just being in my presence, because I have learned to practice pratyahara, which is drawing my senses inward so that things don't bother me so much. All right, so all of these things we ask for forgiveness of the Creator, and then this final line of the prayer. So going back, for all these mistakes, please forgive me, you who are the ocean of mercy. So if that's true, that there is an ocean of mercy, we can make as many mistakes as we need to, until we learn to stop making those mistakes, stop creating suffering for myself, stop creating suffering for other people, and we can lean into the fact that we have as many chances as we need if we will just face the direction of mercy and know that we are forgiven. We have been forgiven. But that doesn't mean that we just like, okay, I'm forgiven, so I can do whatever I want. No, we need to work at behaviors, thoughts, the way I am, so that I can be part of joy, so I can be part of love, and create a world where people can stop the patterns of suffering. Okay, so I love this prayer, or this invocation, for the Yoga Sutras, and we'll continue to learn a little bit more as we study the Yoga Sutras together.